Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany if we've never met before, and welcome to a collab with my rec queen and book bestie Jenn from the book Refuge. Today we'll both be sharing the 6 scenes we want to see from A Breath of Snow and Ashes in season 6 of Outlander. Like so many books, Jenn is the reason why I picked up the Outlander series, and I am a person that started with the show, and as I began to read, that really eclipsed my viewing. Because of the way that Diana writes these robust characters that we get to spend ample time with, I just think it's the most compelling and riveting slice of life style writing that I've ever read, to the point where I feel like I know the characters personally. So I'm a viewer that's less concerned about the timeline, and I typically side-eye the changes to characterization. So some of the scenes that I've picked speak to that, and they will serve, I hope, as entry points to getting back to canon, so to speak. Obviously, there are scenes that have to be present. I mean, we're only getting 8 episodes here, and 2 of the major plot points from the book have already been featured: Claire's kidnapping and the death of Bonnet. So, I mean, we still have a lot to unpack. So, I think it's still going to be a meaty season. Because the Christies are such a major part of this book, and Tom Christie being a quagmire of a character, at least for me, like my feelings towards him kept evolving over the course of the book. And I suspect we're gonna get the scene where Claire operates on his hand using that ether. Actually, she doesn't get to use it until Aiden. Tom actually takes it like a prideful champ. But prior to that, I really hope that the show sticks very closely to the book when Tom comes to Claire in need of stitches. I think this is a very simple scene, and it's perfect for the screen because there's a lot going on in terms of telegraphing and foreshadowing. First, we get to see Tom bend for Claire for the first time. You know, he's only coming to her because he has to, when he should have come before. Okay, she could have mended that hand, but now it's getting worse. And when she tells him he could potentially not be able to write ever again, that hits him to the core because he's the richest school teacher, he's a scholar, and that's, you know, bound up in his identity. And so he agrees to let her mend his hand. And so that is very foreshadowing in terms of Tom's relationship with Claire later down the line. Also, while she's stitching him up and Jamie's looming in the background, we get to see the tenuous relationship between him and Jamie. I mean, he goats him about his scars, and Jamie ends up calling him Sassenach, and not in an endearing way. And I definitely think that that telegraphs in terms of the Christie family as a whole and Jamie for what happens later on down the line. This is a very simple scene that's doing a lot, which Diana does so freaking well, that I think would serve well cinematically, because it could be a bookend to where all of these characters land at the end of the season, and it would just be thematically pleasing for me. So I hope that's the choice that they make. On a lighter note, I really hope that they feature a set of twins that the show has already introduced, because it would only make sense for them to continue their story of them both falling in love with the same woman. I loved this polycule, and I really enjoyed how, I'll say she and not her name, goes about legitimizing their relationship. I love their sort of switcheroo antics that enable this to happen. And sorry, there's a plane and it's being really rude, but I just think that it would be so fun to see on screen a polyamorous relationship on the Ridge. Like, viewers need to see that, okay? Next, let's see. I'll couch this way. I will say the next 2 scenes are a part of my please showcase Roger and Jamie's relationship of mutual respect and admiration, okay? Because the show is not showcasing the beautiful bond that they develop in the books. Fine. They haven't done that yet. I'll take that. But there are scenes in this book that would serve as a great entry point for them to start ushering that in. Because frankly, I think that it does a disservice to Jamie's characterization. He's not the kind of man that would scoff at Roger or see him less. And I just have yet to see them uphold the moments, the many moments in the book, the most pivotal being when Jamie is near death and Roger is right by his side. I just don't think that they honor that. And because of that, I really want to see Roger's first sermon, okay? Roger is up there preaching, love thy neighbor like thyself, and he spots a snake, and it's just casually slithering along, and he's trying to continue preaching while calculating in his head when he has to dive for this snake so that everybody else doesn't see it. And he spots Jamie spot it, knowing all too well his fear of snakes. And right when he's about to stop, Jamie snatches the snake and puts it in his shirt. And he's like holding it by the tail so that it doesn't interrupt the sermon. And it's just so sweet and hilarious because he doesn't want to ruin or disrupt Roger preaching to the point where he won't even take it outside. So Claire has to take it and like throw it in her pocketbook. And I just love it. It's a comedic moment. It is so sweet. And to like see Jamie be willing to do that for Roger is like huge. And I hope they feature it. In the same vein, I want to see Roger's rescue of baby Henry Christian and his baptism. This is a moment where Roger really gets to save the day, and baby Henry is the source of a lot of discrimination because he was born with dwarfism, and, you know, a group of kids, for fun, decide to put him in a basket and push him down a creek. And Roger catches the baby right before it hits the, you know, off fall. And in this moment, Jamie and the boys see this, and he takes the water from the creek and baptizes the boy. And while he's blessing him, he scolds those children. And I love, as Jamie is retelling this, he says that he's impressed by this, which is pivotal when we're talking about entry point moments here. I'm just gonna pull it up. Sorry, I am. Thankfully, I have an elaborate tapping system because she really thick though. This is like a huge tome. Green for quotables. Okay, I think I got it. I just want to like substantiate what I'm saying here. Okay. It impressed me to be sure, Jamie said, still grinning. I'd no notion Roger Mack had it in him to preach hellfire and damnation like that. The lad's a great roar to him, cracked voice and all. And, you know, because again, I'm just sticking to source material here and saying that if we get this scene, and I really think that we are, because I've been a bloodhound when it comes to gleaning for stock images from set, if we get this scene, I hope they include that. I hope that they use it to start a budding friendship between them on screen, because it harkens to what we know and love about what they form here. Next, I want to discuss a theme, rather. I can string it back to a scene, and that's Brianna's Engineering. I love all of her inventions and contributions, how she's taking helpful elements from the future and bringing them onto the ridge, which is also foreshadowing. And I think the scene where she's trying to figure out how to get hot water is pretty good, because we get to see the mind mapping of her engineering, how she's trying to figure out how she's going to get her hands on metal, and just all of that speaks to her skill set. And I like seeing her have something for herself, something that can contribute to the improvement of the lives of all those around her, similar to how Roger's calling is for him. And Although that scene is positioned differently in terms of timeline within the show, I think it would pair nicely with the show because it would showcase another way of surviving trauma, demonstrating that we are more than what has happened to us and that we can be useful and filled with passion again after tragic events. I think that that's hopeful. I mean, we got to see her with the snake and the syringe, and I just hope they amp it up with her inventions in season 6. And I'm trying to think, how many have I? Because I could keep going. Okay, I think that's 5. Hopefully, let me know in the comments if it isn't. But lastly, I really want to see a scene between Bree and Roger. I think it's a beautiful moment for them and their marriage, and that's when they're discussing his calling. Because Bree notes seeing a light in him and how he's happy, which I really appreciate because, you know, everybody notices how Roger's been helping Amy McCullum, a woman on the ridge, and one character in particular threatens him with that and aims to sully his good deeds to protect themselves. And so I love that Bree sees how helping in this way is fulfilling for him, but she also asks that he not forget about her and Jenn, their child. And after he assures her that his calling will not intervene or like will not take precedent over them, that he'll put them first, she says one of my favorite quotes from the book and something that I hope to find in every romance that I pick up. So I'm gonna read it. I'm prepared for this one, I promise. As I fumble the ball, but I'm gonna read it. All I want, she said softly to the dark, is for you to love me, not because of what I can do or what I look like, or because I love you, just because I am. I love that so much because that is what she has, doesn't she? I love this moment of seeing and having faith in her husband, and it's just a beautiful and heartfelt moment. I mean, I could even break down the I am statement and link it back to the Bible, Roger's calling in Genesis. But I will do my geeky mind mapping off camera and say that I'm very excited for season 6. Okay, tell me what you would like to see. I want to thank you for joining me. I really hope that I see you in the next one, and bye.